Everybody, welcome to
Hello.
BRIT DADS REACT, me BP1 and BP2.
Here we go.
I've got an interesting one for you today. How the US government will survive Doomsday. This one has been sent over by the lovely Amanda. How you doing, Amanda?
Hope you're all well. Yeah,
today.
thank you for another interesting request, as always. So, how the US government will survive. Would you want to survive Doomsday? Would you want to still be around after?
Wow, can you imagine just coming out afterwards and just be like, oh, we've got to start again from day dot? Yeah. I think I'd rather go with it all, to be perfectly honest with you. But there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what the US government has got planned.
We don't really know much about this one, so we're just flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah,
we'll just get straight in.
We'll get straight in if there are any sort of interesting topics come up or things that we want to comment on. We may stop it, but otherwise, let's just get straight in there.
This video was made possible by Hover. Get 10% off
Hover.
a custom domain or email from Hover at
So there's a big intro.
/Wendover. When nuclear bombs obliterate the Earth, or a virus wipes out the human race, or robots push mankind out of existence, the US government believes that democracy should continue on. The country believes that even if the population of the US ceases to exist, the country should go on. Akin to its almost paranoid nature, the US government has a series of defined protocols on how to continue the country when the country is no longer. The continuity of government plans. You probably already know about part of these plans because you probably know about the US president's line of succession. If the president dies, there's a list of 17 people ranging all the way from the vice president down to the Secretary of Homeland Security who would take their place. With such a long list, the chances of the US going without a president are near none. The one time a year when the entire line gathers together, the State of the Union, one individual in the line of succession is appointed designated survivor to wait out in a bunker to run the government if the rest of it dies.
Sounds good.
But the line of succession is the basic stuff, the stuff people already know. What's far less known is the semi-secret protocols and places the government has spent billions of dollars and decades building. However, until just 60 or 70 years ago, the US felt it was untouchable. At no time in history had an enemy existed as relatively close to the US as during the Cold War. The US's foreign policy always kept in mind that an ocean separated it from its enemies, but with the invention of nuclear bombs, an enemy could go from declaring war on the US to toppling its government in a matter of hours. During these days, the US government began actively preparing for Doomsday. There are 4 main bunkers from which the US government would run the country following a world-ending event. The Presidential Emergency Operations Center, Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center, and the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The president is the most important person to survive Doomsday, both for symbolic and logistical reasons. If a nuclear warhead is inbound to Washington, he or she would most likely evacuate downstairs from the White House into their underground bunker, but that's not guaranteed. During the Truman administration, the president refused to leave the Oval Office during what was believed to be an attack. This ended up being a false alarm, but some presidents have said that they believe that they should write out an attack with the rest of the population. It's just like saying a captain should go down with their ship. The Oval Office, and even the White House bunker, is not the safest place someone can be during an attack. But morale saves lives, and seeing a president braving out the fight can help create a sense of national unity that would keep the country together. A single person is replaceable, but the government as a whole is more delicate. Raven Rock, Pennsylvania would serve as the underground Pentagon. All the leaders of the armed forces would evacuate by helicopter to this facility in the event of an attack and command their troops across the country and the world. During an attack of an apocalyptic scale, it's likely that martial law would be imposed, meaning that the military would take over day-to-day control of the country. The commanders would have wide-ranging, almost dictatorial powers, and habeas corpus would be revoked. From distributing food to serving as law enforcement to keeping the lights on, the armed forces would truly work on the front lines of rebuilding a destroyed country.
Alright, well we're just... So basically, I mean, it's good to have sort of these things in place, but as we know, when things do happen, we've seen it globally. It doesn't quite work out how the plan.
Well, I mean,
was meant
our
to
last
happen.
sort of global environment with, a certain virus just showed how chaotic it all can be. I mean, it's the infrastructure that breaks down first, isn't it? We were overwhelmed for PPE and,
Yes.
and cures and things like that. I mean, yes, you will have a sort of basic organization trying to keep things running. It then depends on, are the population getting enough food, water enough, or, that's when they start to make an uprising and then go, right, we're not getting fed here, so let's go and find food and take whatever we need to survive, isn't it? That's when it all sort of
Or toilet roll.
toilet roll. Yeah, I mean,
Was also
we
a
saw
big one
that.
globally, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Even though there was never really
I've
a
still got
shortage.
loads to shift.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, like I say, we've only ever seen it in movies, haven't we?
Yeah,
This type of thing, and thank God we have.
and I mean, we have sort of heard the rumblings about the bunkers in America. Haven't heard such rumblings in the UK or so much. Maybe probably one of them old red telephone boxes is what we're going to use.
Yeah,
Everybody jump in one of them because they seem
disappear.
bomb-proof.
Bit like Harry Potter, just disappear in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
let's
all
keep
right.
going.
It's interesting though. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Should the president stay and go down with the ship, or is he the guy that's got all the ideas?
Well, I don't think
Double-edged
he is
sword.
the guy that's got all the ideas. To be
Well,
perfectly
not
honest with you, I think
Yeah, all right. We won't get into that one. Moving on.
a puppet. They're all puppets, aren't they? Ultimately, it's the people that are around them. Anyway, let's keep going.
Cheyenne Mountain Complex just out of Colorado Springs, Colorado would serve as the home to NORAD, the agency responsible for controlling and tracking the skies above the US and Canada. So, if the above ground world proved too dangerous for the country's leadership, these 4 underground bunkers would serve as the home to the bare bones of the US government. But what about the rest of it? Nearly 4.5 million people are employed by the US federal government, and they all work to keep it running. Where would the hundreds of government agencies go? Well, nobody knows exactly, at least publicly, but we do know how they would relocate. You might have heard of the DEFCON system. It makes frequent appearances in movies, but few have heard of COGCON. COGCON is a readiness level system that directs agencies how to prepare for the activation of the government's continuity of government plans. At COGCON 4, the lowest level, every US government agency must be able to relocate to an alternate facility and perform basic functions within 12 hours. It's an incredibly ambitious plan. At COGCON 3, this number goes down to 8 hours, then at COGCON 2 is when things get real. At this level, Doomsday is imminent. Every agency has 3 sites for their continuity plan, A, B, and C, and their agency would split into 3 corresponding teams, A, B, and C. The A team would relocate to a secure facility near its normal headquarters, probably bunkers under DC.
Sorry.
The B team would relocate near the Mount Weather facility, and the C team would relocate to another undisclosed facility. Each team would be ready to take over operations at a moment's notice. The A team would continue operations for as long as possible, either until they're dead or communications are cut off. Then the B team would seamlessly take over operations. If the B team falls, the C team would serve as the final chance for the survival of the government agency. When the surface of the Earth is unsurvivable, there is one other place to go other than underground: to the sky. The traditional Air Force One has redundancy upon redundancy and most likely dozens of classified defense measures, but there's a different thing from which the president might command the country after Doomsday: the Boeing E-4 Advanced Airborne Command Post. It became increasingly clear to leadership under the Carter administration that the bunkers would do little to protect against a direct nuclear strike. In fact, they would just concentrate the very individuals that the enemy would attack into a few holes in mountains. Surviving a nuclear blast while 7 miles above Earth, however, is far more conceivable. This plane is sometimes referred to as Air Force One when it matters. Whenever the president travels, one of these planes is stationed at most a couple hundred miles away. From this plane, the president can command the country indefinitely. It can be refueled mid-air by tanker, so, barring technical issues, it can remain flying for as long as the food and water lasts. In a doomsday scenario, this plane could literally stay airborne for weeks at a time to keep the country's leadership safe. After Armageddon, the United States' goal would be to rebuild the ailing country with however many survivors remained. But how would the country continue as the same country when most everyone was dead? Because of the line of succession, the president could be an unknown, unelected official with a bare-bones government of just a few thousand people. So what's to say to a survivor in Texas or Oregon or Alaska that it's still the same country continuing on? Well, what binds America together is a common culture and legacy. Art and historical artifacts are the physical representations of this, and their survival would pose a powerful message about the State of the Union. On Doomsday, resources would be scarce and disjointed, so officials have had to make decisions about which items to save and which would be left behind. For example, priority would be given to Leonardo da Vinci's Ginevra da Vinci over Rogier van der Weyden's St. George and the Dragon, and the Declaration of Independence would be saved before the Constitution. Ideally, though, all three of the nation's most important documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, would be evacuated from Washington. Grouped together,
not the Colonel's secret recipe then.
Not Mr. Sanders' recipe. Not Bert either. Not Bert.
Who gets that job? Who gets that job?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
who gets that job to say, like he says, Leonardo da Vinci over George and the Dragon?
And I think.
And have you got time to go around and collect it all? There's a lot of holes in this theory, isn't there?
Well, I mean, it's best effort, isn't it? Really.
Best effort, yeah.
You got nuclear, obviously, at the
readiness.
moment. But the problem you've got is, I think you should be a bit more worried about outer space finishing us off before nuclear. You just don't know. I mean, a nuclear bomb is nothing compared to a rather sizable meteor coming from outer space, which would is nothing.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of things there. Like I say, I would have thought, would the plane still be serviceable after a nuclear bomb? Because then would be sort of electronic warfare as well. So all your electronic stuff would surely stop operating. I know it's pretty old school. And then you got to have fuel up there.
I can't use my brain.
Yeah. It's a lot to think about.
It's not worth me even thinking about it.
No, and I mean, if you haven't got any McDonald's, that's half the nation.
I know. Yes.
Can't operate without that. So it's a thinker. This one, it is way above our pay grade, as they say, mate.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to worry about surviving anyway. We wouldn't be on the list of designated survivors.
No.
All right.
We would be food. All right. Let's keep going.
They would be called Freedom Documents Group 1, and while some high-level officials would evacuate Washington by road, these three documents would get their own helicopter straight to Mount Weather to continue the powerful legacy of the United States. Nobody knows exactly how or if the US government will survive Doomsday. All we know are some of the plans. Plans are just plans though, and do not account for the unknown. In the event that the United States is truly threatened by nuclear war, pandemic, or any other world-ending event, who knows if the population will even believe that they are still in the United States? Little distinguishes one country from another other than what people think, and if people believe they are part of the country of Alaska or the Kingdom of California, then for the most part, they are. If the principles of separation of power, judicial review, checks and balances, limited government, federalism, and popular sovereignty live on past the end, the continuity of government plans have succeeded, even if the members of government die. These plans are not about saving the president or the Secretary of Defense or any one person. They're about making sure the structure of democratic government continues on through thick and thin. This video was made possible by Hover.
Hover is fair play. I mean,
cheers, Hover. Wendover
Productions.
I mean, it's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because if you had the chance to go back to sort of a blank slate, would democracy be the overriding thing that everybody would want to continue with? If you're in that kind of environment, maybe sort of a socialist government where everybody mucks in and works together to produce food and stuff for everybody rather than individuals that then barter it off and sell it, you know. So maybe that's a better sort of option to start again. Who knows?
Yes, and I would encourage everybody to not believe in anything either. You know,
we're not even real.
Don't believe in anything because you never know.
Yeah. You never know.
Otherwise that causes issues.
It's a thinker, isn't it? It's a bit of a thinker. I mean, like you say, if you start sitting down and thinking about it, that one grey brain cell that we've got soon gets exhausted. It's way above our pay grade. But it's nice to know people have got jobs out there that, you know, if the worst comes down to it, you go out, get these 3 documents, jump on a helicopter, fly up there, and
sit in a bunker.
Yeah.
Which you're going to need it to be quite a few miles down, otherwise
you're
going to get hit anyway. Especially now we know all the locations. So
yeah, that's handy. Find them on Google Maps. Brilliant.
Google
all
cars
right.
there.
It was yeah, it was interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's always interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Like I say, you know, hopefully we all get along all right. Everybody's all right. Nobody take offence, you know, and nobody press any buttons.
No. Thanks, Amanda. As usual, always like to you know, see your requests and where they go from. Again, another video that I probably never even thought about in my own country, let alone in the US. So cool.
Yes. When I said don't press any buttons, you can press the thumbs up and like button. Obvs.
Well, yeah, you can press that one. That's always handy to press. All right. Well, I'm off to Raven Rock. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
I'm off to Rock Creek. Laters.